All right, welcome in. It is time for Total Bases. It's Monday, Bryan Leonard. It's a new week. I need a new week. Yes, last week was not my week. Just could not get it going. Had a couple of leads that in games that I thought I had a stranglehold on and then lost. And as you know, when that happens to you, when you're losing the ones you should win, it's hard to win. It's hard to win doing this in general. So when those go against you, it's probably not going to be the best week. But it's a new week. We're here to battle it out all season. It's only May 4th, so a lot of season to go. And a huge, kind of a big slate for a Monday, Bryan. I think we've got like 11 or 12 games today. So I'm excited to break these games down with you.
Yep, I am too. And the baseball last couple of days I have lost on. I continue to win in the playoffs, but I can't complain. Everything's been going really well, and looking for a big week here, and it's something we could get started on the show.
Yeah, I haven't had a problem winning in KBO. That's where I've won so far this year. But MLB and AAA lagging behind. Again, can't stress enough how long the season is. Not worried about it at all. And we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna get right back to it with a great slate tonight. Bryan, let's start. National TV, Fox Sports 1. This is like my pet project against yours right here. I can't, I've talked about the Brewers, how much I like this team, how much I think the organization is set up for success. You are all over the Cardinals coming into this season. You were all over the Cardinals this weekend against the Dodgers. You gave them out on Friday. We talked about them on Saturday's show. They won again, 2 of 3. Are the Cardinals for real? And how are you kind of approaching this game tonight against the Brewers?
Yeah, all season long, the Dodgers were the best hitting team in baseball. No longer. They dropped to third in WRC plus. And that tells you something. We had written off everybody else. We thought the Dodgers were the best team in baseball, and they still are. They still are. But the hitting has struggled, and so it's tough to lay $3 favorites when you're not hitting. Milwaukee with Patrick, and St. Louis with Leahy, and I've been a fan of both of these guys, but I think this is going to be a good hitting environment here. If you take a look, Milwaukee's a slight favorite here. They're about a 112, 115 favorite, total of 8.5. But if you look at the hitting for the season, St. Louis is ranked, I believe, number 7 in WRC plus, where Milwaukee's in the middle of the pack. Whoever thought coming into the season, first of all, you didn't think the St. Louis pitching was going to be that good, and they've been very good. And the hitting, there's a lot of questions about the hitting, and they've been very good. In fact, Burleson has only got one home run on the season, but he's one of the leaders in RBIs, which tells you how smart and how good the St. Louis team is. First thing I'm looking at here is as much as I like both these pitchers, I think the line's a little bit short in the total. It opened 8, and now it's up to 8.5, and I can understand that. The wind is blowing out slightly, but it's St. Louis. It's more of a pitcher's ballpark. But these two teams are hitting better than I think a lot of people give them credit for. So as much as I like both of these pitchers, I'm slightly leaning to the over right now. You take a look at Milwaukee's bullpen. None of the key guys in the Milwaukee bullpen pitched yesterday, although Uribe had to pitch 24 pitches on Saturday. But really, that's the only time he's pitched all week. So their bullpen is in pretty good shape. And when we take a look at St. Louis, O'Brien did have to pitch a little bit this week because they won some games, but that's a good thing. But they also, none of those pitched yesterday. And he did throw 26 pitches the day before, Stanek 22. I'm not a big fan of Stanek being in the setup range there. I think they got better guys than him, but he's been around for a while. But in this game, the bullpens are in pretty good shape, but still, I prefer the over here. I like the hitting for both of these teams, and I like the pitchers, but I think 8.5 is kind of low. So slightly, this is just my first thoughts in the morning. It's 6:00 in the morning out here in Vegas. But that's my first thought here is I think there may be some value on the over.
I will point out the last couple times we've agreed on a total, it's hit. So people can't say there's the curse. Like the last couple times we've agreed, I think it's a couple in a row where we've been on a total and it's hit. I'm with you here on the over. My number is kind of close. I project 8.6 runs in this game. So 8.5 is 8.5, which is what the total is right now. Is like that's not like a huge difference. It's right on the number, but certainly how this game is going to play out, I kind of see more. I think it's more likely that there's some runs, mostly going back to the Brewers' ability to manufacture. They're as good as anyone at getting someone on base, moving them up, whether it be a steal or just like a good situational at bat. And then you look at Kyle Leahy, not off to the best start so far this year. I think we kind of both pointed that he might have some upside, but certainly hasn't been realized yet. WHIP is 1.67. He's had last two starts, Brian, 9 hits given up to the Pirates, 8 hits given up to the Marlins. I mean, the Marlins aren't exactly like an offensive juggernaut right now. And that's 17 hits over his last 10 innings. If those teams are able to get hits and scratch across 4 and 3 runs respectively, the Brewers can certainly get to 3 even if that's kind of how I'm looking at this. Even if Leahy has a good start, what does that mean here? 3 runs over maybe 5 or 6 innings. And then on the other side, I like Chad Patrick from like a long-term guy for this team. Like he's going to go out, he's going to eat innings up. He's rarely going to get crushed. He's rarely hurt. He's a very reliable guy. Like you can throw him out there for 5 innings and he's probably not going to get blown up. But I mean, really, like he's still hittable. He's got a good fastball and he locates it. It's not overpowering. He's more of a location type guy. You mean to tell me Jordan Walker can't take him deep here? I mean, he might have had a little lull, but he had a good couple good games over the weekend. I think he finally hit another bomb. And it's like the Cardinals they've been really good at manufacturing runs as well. So this is one of those games where even if both pitchers pitch good, I don't know if I fully trust the bullpens not to have this game end up 4-4 at some point. And as you know, 8.5, 4-4 games a winner on the over.
Yeah, my projections show 4.5 runs being allowed combined by these two pitchers, and neither one of them going 5 innings. So like the win percentage, Patrick's only got a 19% chance of getting a win, and Leahy 17. So I don't think either one of these pitchers are going to get the victories. And if they're giving up 4.5 and they don't even get through 5, that's basically 1 run per inning. So that helps you out when you get to the bullpens and they're doing all that changing. But you had mentioned if we agree, it hasn't been that bad. Well, if all 3 of us agree, those have been the killers when GB's been on the show. Any 2 people can agree on something. When 3 of them agree, that's a majority, a vast majority, even though it's 3-0. And those are the ones that seem to be getting us in trouble. Is when all 3 of us agree on something. Those are the ones that have hurt. So just keep that in mind when we all get together again, that if we all 3 agree, that's usually been the kiss of death for us.
All right. Bunch of the chat is coming in hot here on a Monday morning, as always, though. And so we'll get right to the chat. Bunch of games. I'm going kind of at random. I'll hit the super chat games because they star them. I think super chat just means you're subscribe to the YouTube channel or something of that nature. So if you want your chat to come up in green like Noah Jones' chat just did, head on over, subscribe to the channel, and your chat will it might be the one with the fee. I think the fee is for the to belong to the channel is it's like $2 a month or something. And then your chat will come up like Noah's does in green. And then you can, and he'll say to the 2 people that love the Rockies this year, can you talk me off the Rockies plus 1.5 of the Mets coming to town? Brian, one of my big downfalls this weekend was trying to back the Rockies against the Braves. And I don't necessarily think I was wrong to do so on the days that I did. Of course, Friday, the Rockies had a 6-0 lead. To not cash plus 1.5 is just, you might put that one in the, that might be in the top 5 bad beats of the year for me. 6-0 lead, and then you go into the 9th inning in a tie game. Going to the 8th inning, it's 6-2. So Friday night, Rockies 6-2 going into the 8th inning. They give up 4. They give up another 2 in the top of the 9th. Certainly a bad beat. Yesterday, the Braves, they come out. It's a Spencer Strider sort of like dip your toe back in game. First start back from the IL. No Acuna. He hit the IL with a hamstring injury. And, not a ton of like their best bullpen guys, and yet they're still able to win and win convincingly. I think this weekend, when I look at the Rockies, listen, the Braves I'm willing to say it now. It's the best team in Major League Baseball. They have so many role players that like, it's almost like it doesn't matter if their top guys aren't in the lineup, right? Like, oh, Acuna's out, no problem, because Jonah Heim is going to have 5 RBIs or Eli White is going to have a great game. So I guess where I'm going with this is we circle it back to this game, which is moved up for weather. So you actually do kind of have a day game today. This is going to be a 5:40 Eastern start, 3:40 local time, because they're trying to beat the weather in Colorado. Noah Jones says, can you talk me off Rockies plus 1.5? No, I cannot. I lean that way. Brian Leonard, can you talk him off the Rockies here?
Yeah, Rockies were one of my fails yesterday as I had them. I wanted to fade Strider, and it worked well. Strider didn't have it. They got Strider, but obviously the Braves offense has done what's done all year, and that is hit even without their best player. Right now, according to Odds Logic, the starter for the Mets is undecided, but I believe it's going to be Meyer, and then they're going to come back with let me get a quick look at this right here. Okay. It's going to be Myers, and then they're going to go with in bulk David Peterson. David Peterson has struggled as a starter this year compared to the rest of the Mets staff. In fact, right now in the last 2 weeks, the Mets staff has got 4 of their 5 starters in the top 85 in pitcher. The only one that hasn't is Peterson. So they're trying to keep him from having to face the front of the order for 3 full innings. So that's the goal here. Although, to be honest with you, the Rockies front of the order is good, is as much as improved as the Rockies offense is this year. They're still not, one of the most dangerous top of the orders in baseball, but they are playing in Colorado. The weather's supposed to be bad today. Obviously, very cold there. Let me get to my weather forecast cheat sheet on this one. In Coors Field, even though the wind is blowing in, they're still expecting 31% more runs than you get in a normal baseball games, which is basically about 3 runs more because you're playing in Coors Field. So that will be a situation to keep in mind. Right now, the places in which are expected the most runs are Coors Field, Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City, and Wrigley Field in Chicago, as the winds are always a concern when you're looking at Chicago. All you need to do, as I said before, is look what the total is in that game. And right now it's at 11.5. So that tells you that that's blowing out. But yeah, the Mets right now, if you take a look at their offense, the top 3 guys in the lineup, Bichette is ranked 50th in the last 7 days. Soto's ranked 28th. Melendez is up there. He's showing some of that promise that Kansas City could never get out of him. He's at 52nd. So the top 3 guys have been hitting. And in fact, Vientos is starting to heat up. They've been using him in the 8th spot, and he's batted 4 of the last 6 days. So he's starting to solidify his spot out there also. And so the hitting is starting to come around for the Mets a little bit, and we knew it would. From Colorado's standpoint, as I mentioned, this is a team that right now the number 2 hitter, Mickey Moniak's been hot as hell. He's 19. And Rumfeld, the rookie, is 59. But most of the other guys on this team are in the 200s. So they're not hitting well right now. So from a hitting standpoint, I prefer the Mets. And from the pitching standpoint, you got Sagano on the mound for Colorado. Somehow they've survived with him in there right now. But if I could take Myers and I could take Peterson to go, let's say, 6 innings, I think that's a big advantage for the Mets here. You have to lay about 140 to play the Mets here, but that would be the way I would look at it here. I do like Colorado when they play at home. They're not playing well right now, So if you've got the gumption to play the Mets, you're getting them at a decent price here.
All right. I want to pull this comment up because I do think this if you want to just keep it super simple, this is valid, right? Dan J says, the Mets are nowhere near the Braves caliber. Yeah, we can all agree upon that. Yesterday, after Acuna was out of the lineup and ruled out, Colorado plus 1.5 went as high as minus 130. That's what it went off as. So you're actually getting a better number on Rockies plus 1.5 based on the closing line today, with it being minus 125 against the Mets. I think that's a valid statement. However, Bryan, you make a really, really good point. Mickey Moniak is now tied for the NL lead in home runs. Think about that for a second. This was a guy that pretty much, never panned out for the Angels. He was supposed to, right? He was supposed to be the next big Angels prospect, never panned out, get to Colorado, had to close the season pretty strong last year. I guess the point I'm trying to make is to validate your point. Can he keep this up? And if not, when you get outside of those couple guys that have really been producing for the Rockies, the rest of the lineup has not produced. The biggest issue for the Rockies, though, and because I've kind of complimented them a lot this year, but the biggest issue for the Rockies is if you want to have this starting rotation of Sugano, Freeland, Quintana, who's the other one that just, these guys that are they're going to throw off speed stuff. And it's almost like they're going to probably get you through 4 or 5 innings, but they're going to give up 3 or 4, maybe 5 runs in the process. It only works if the bullpen is really good. And for the Rockies, for the first month of the season, the bullpen was top 10 in Major League Baseball. That has not been the case the last week or so. Go back to not last Thursday, but the Thursday before, when they blew that multiple run lead to the Padres and lost 10-8. I think they went into the 9th inning up 8-5, lost the game 10-8. This bullpen has struggled since then. And if you are not going to have, if let's put it this way, unless, maybe Moniak is having a breakout all-star campaign and he does stay this hot. But if he doesn't, and suddenly your bullpen regresses back to the middle of the pack or even back to the bottom 10, because remember, this was the worst bullpen in the league last year, or one of the worst bullpens in the league. Maybe not the worst, but it was certainly bottom 5. I have my concerns for the Rockies, whereas I was very high on this team in April. Those are my concerns with them going into May, and that might keep me off of them here.
Antonio Sensatella was a guy last year nobody wanted any part of. He was a starter, and when he was pitching, he was a bet against. Now he's your second best pitcher on the team, and he ranks 147th in the last 2 weeks. So that tells you that this bullpen right now, you'd like to talk about household names. The biggest household name they have is Victor Vodnik, who right now is the closer. And we've seen enough of him over the years, recent history, to know that he cannot be trusted. Yeah, right now for the Rockies, and I find a lot of value on the Rockies. I just don't find it today.
Listen, I said before the road trip started, this might be when the Mets start to turn a corner a little bit. These are winnable games for them, and it is worth pointing out that they have some serious revenge here. They were swept at home by the Rockies, which is as embarrassing of a 3-game sweep as you're going to have if you're the Mets. $2 favorite in both legs of a doubleheader. Couldn't win either of those games. Swept by the Rockies at home. I believe, Bryan, they were over a $2 favorite in every one of those games at Citi Field. They lost all 3, but they come out and take 2 of 3 from the Angels. Could have swept. The one loss was in extra innings. I kind of see where you're coming from, what you want in the target, the Mets here. I do.
Yeah, when you're playing in a big media center like a Boston or a New York or a Los Angeles, it's not as bad as L.A. L.A.'s pretty laid back, but you want to get, if you're not playing well, you want to back that team when they get out of town. They can get their mind off of it, and they're playing in Colorado with the revenge. Yeah, I can see that.
David, I before we move on, David, I want to make a point. The Rockies bullpen was great the first month of the year. They didn't struggle against the Mets. They were outstanding. They were actually, they had been in the top 10 in bullpen ERA all year up until about 10 days ago, maybe a week ago. So, even if you want to go since the Mets series, like, I'm just saying the blow up against the Padres and then the fact that they couldn't get outs this weekend, I'm concerned that they might be might regress a little bit. And if they do, I'm saying it could be bad news. They need the bullpen. When you're just going to get like 5 innings out of Sugano, might give up a couple runs. If your bullpen guys don't come in and lock it down, you have games like yesterday where they lose 11-6, like Friday where they take a 6-2 lead into the 8th inning and lose the game. That's all I'm saying about the bullpen. There's still good arms. Like you said, Vodnik throws hard. There's still good arms down there, but that's the concern. All right, let's go. There's a whole bunch of people that want to talk Braves Mariners, and I think that's, I mean, if it wasn't the feature series because it's not on national TV, it certainly may be the best, the best game, the best series in terms of at least, well, Bryan, I got to be honest. I think a win for me was to not lose $1 in that Mariners Royals series. Like, I don't know. I got you to thank for that, because if you don't come on here and give that breakdown of the Royals on Friday, I may have played them on Friday and I may have stubbornly been back on them this weekend. Somehow, by the grace of God, your boy stayed away from the Mariners this weekend, who got swept at home by the Royals. I thought this team was about to turn a corner. They got swept at home by a team that was 3-12 on the road prior to this. I believe 3-12 on the road prior to this weekend. How do the Mariners get swept in that series? And more importantly, how are they this big a favorite against the Braves? What are we doing here?
I agree. Gilbert's the starter, and he's in the 140 to 150 range here, most closer to 150 in most places against Richie, the rookie, who looked pretty good in his first start. This is normally a really good pitcher's ballpark, and I think Richie could have some success. If you're a young guy, I don't want you pitching in Colorado. I don't want you pitching in the wind blowing out of Chicago. I want you pitching in a ballpark like this. And Gilbert is, as I mentioned, all season long, there's something wrong with Gilbert. He's not getting the strikeouts that he used to get. I think the thing is with Seattle, they've got Anderson down in the minors that they're just itching to get up there. They've got, you saw one of their starters the other day,
Bryce Miller, throwing 98, all-star.
Yeah. Look good. And he's been good when he's healthy. And so, if you're an athlete, you're not going to tell your team there's something wrong with you if there's a chance you're going to be put on the IL and you lose your job for a while. These guys Brandon talks about it all the time. They're very proud players. And I think there's something wrong with Gilbert. I just have not seen him pitch the same way this year as he had in the past. And so you're going by his name, which has been excellent. He's been one of the top 10 pitchers in baseball. A lot of that has to do with pitching in Seattle. And I've talked about this before. Usually your ERA from all your Seattle pitchers, or at least a run higher when they go on the road, is when they pitch at home. So a lot of people say, oh, the Seattle pitchers got these 2-run ERAs at home. Well, they got a 3-run, 4-run ERA when they go on the road. So a lot of it has to do with the pitching environment here in Seattle. And I think that's a benefit to Richie. The Atlanta Braves, yes, they're going to be without their best player. But they do move Michael Harris up to the number 1 spot. He was batting like 8th or 9th for a long time. He's been pretty hot. He's cooled off a little bit lately because he's been injured, but he came back. He was the DH on Saturday, didn't play on Sunday, but he'll be back again today. Drake Baldwin is who he is, possibly the best hitting catcher in baseball now that the Seattle catcher has had some problems. In fact, he hasn't played in the last few days. So you're getting an Atlanta team without their best hitter, but you're also getting a Seattle team without one of your 2 best hitters. So keep that in mind. Olson's been hot. He's 10th in baseball. He bats 3rd for Seattle or for Atlanta. Ozzy Albies batting 7th. I thought Ozzy Albies was done, to be honest with you, but he's been red hot this year. So the number 2, 3, and 4 hitters are ranked 53rd, 10th, and 7th, and the number 1 is Michael Harris. And Michael Harris is a good player, very good player. So you're getting the top of the order for Atlanta that is hot, and that's something that I take a look at. And from a pitching standpoint, Richie pitched well in his first start. And the bullpen, the only concern I have is with the Atlanta bullpen. They threw, 6 guys last night? None of them a lot of pitches, 16 pitches for Bummer, 16 pitches for Suarez. But they are about to get their closer, the normal closer, back in action either today or tomorrow. They think he's going to be back. So that gives them another full arm at the top, back of this bullpen, in which could help. Now, Dylan Lee's pitched 2 of the last 3 days. He's only thrown 23 pitches. He might not pitch tonight, but the rest of the guys are all available. And the Seattle team, as much as I like the bullpen here, they have not been that great this year from a bullpen standpoint. Munoz has struggled. Their best arm on the bullpen over the last couple of weeks has been Bizzardo at 74. Davila, who is a long reliever basically for them, has been 87th. But their bullpen in the long run is really good, but they're not pitching that well right now. So, and when I take a look at the batters for Seattle right now, Julio Rodriguez is hitting well. He's batting third. Schneider is hitting pretty well now. And J.P. Crawford, who they moved up to number 1 in the order, he's hitting well, but do you really want J.P. Crawford as your leadoff hitter? I don't like it. And with Cal Raleigh out, and you've got a backup catcher between Garver or Pareda, who they just brought up, not the kind of lineup I want here for Seattle. So, yes, I think that there's value here playing on the road underdog in Richie, and you can get upwards of 135 out there right now. So that would be the way that I'd go. The team playing much better ball right now, the team that I think is the better team right now, and the pitching disadvantage isn't nearly as big as what you would think from a rookie against Logan Gilbert.
You can go back to our shows from last year. I was convinced Gilbert was hurt last year. Well, he was hurt last year. He actually did spend about a month, maybe 5 weeks on the IL, maybe like April into May. I thought he had the same injury that Garrett Cole had. I thought we were going to get to the end of the season. He wanted to gut it out because he had, the Mariners had a great chance to go to the World Series, which they did. They were right there. And at the end of the season, we were going to hear that Logan Gilbert was going to have surgery, to fix something that had been bothering him all season. Like, I was certain about that. That never happened. I'm kind of with you. I feel like he still might be hurt in some way. He just doesn't look like the same guy. And, Steve Duke says, last night I found a plus 150 for the Braves. That's a great number. Even right now, plus 135, plus 130, plus 138, whatever you can get. Like, I thought the spot was going to be good for the Mariners because Brian, you've made the point a couple times, leaving the altitude, right? Like, team that just played in Coors Field, they swept. For the Braves, it was like a lot of offense. They were, Friday and Sunday were tightly contested games. Like, you lose Acuna. That the spot sort of makes sense for the Mariners. This price doesn't at all. This should be closer to a coin flip. This should be closer to like minus 110, minus 105 each way. J.R. Ritchie is not a bad pitch. I mean, he's solid. Like, I just don't see why you would lay minus 145 with the Mariners here. It would have to be Braves or pass. Even though I don't love the spot, that price makes a lot of sense for the Braves.
Yeah, take a look at the last 2 weeks. Here's the starting rotation for Seattle. Logan Gilbert, 97th the last 14 days. Overall for the season, number 60. He was projected to be a top 10 starter coming into the season. Right now he's at 60. Kirby, 77 last 2 weeks, 33 overall. Bryan Wu, who we both love, 170 the last 14 days, 69 on the season. The one guy I have to apologize to, and I talked about this last time I was on, Emerson Hancock. I wasn't fully in. I'm fully in now. What do you have? 14 strikeouts, no walks last
14
game?
strikeouts. He's awesome.
He's up to number 12 pitcher in Major League Baseball from a starting pitcher. He's been terrific all season, and I'm a buyer. And in my fantasy league, Luis Castillo, somebody dropped him last night. And you would never think of dropping a Seattle starter just because he pitches at home, but he has not been good. He's ranked 154th in Major League Baseball from a starting pitching standpoint. So he has not been good. The Seattle starters are not pitching well this season, and that's one of the reasons why they've gotten off to this slow start.
Yeah, Luis Castillo might be out of that rotation.
Yeah.
If Bryce, I mean, when Bryce Miller's probably going to be back next time around, he may be the guy that gets bumped to the like a long relief role. It'd be interesting to see. Um, E. Dolson says, Trig, do you think the Phillies can stay hot down here in Miami? So this series is continuing. This is the old wraparound series right here, Friday to Monday. I believe so this will be the fourth game between these two teams. 6:40 start down at Lone Depot Park. Bryan, I think you sort of nailed it when we talked about the managerial change, and you were like, the Phillies are probably going to win some of these games just because the schedule's easing up. So if I look at this game, it's like, no, I don't necessarily think the Phillies just stay hot because they've been winning to this point. They needed to come from behind and win in walk-off fashion twice against the Giants. That's not a good ball club. They nearly blew Friday's game. They lost on Saturday. That was one win I had this week, and I had the Marlins for a 4% play on Saturday. And then yesterday they had a better matchup. So I think, it was kind of Luzardo was kind of due, and they won that game. But to answer your question, no, I'm not really in on this Phillies team. I kind of think that they had their little surge, but it was more like you said, Bryan, maybe more based on the schedule than it was anything else.
Yep, I agree. Philadelphia is winning, but they're not winning pretty. They could have gone through the same streak with the past manager. Nobody would have said a thing. So hats off to Dave Koken and his riding these teams off of a change. But this is a team. I will say from a hitting standpoint, everybody's hitting well right now, except for JT Realmuto, who just came back from an injury. But Justin Crawford's a guy that I don't understand. He did get a stolen base, I believe, yesterday. But that's his job on this team. Let him steal some bases. That's the whole reason why you've got him at number 9. Let him get to second base and let Turner, Schwarber, and Harper and Garcia knock him in. I don't understand that when you got players that have a lot of speed, they don't let them run enough. And that's something that always concerns me with Philadelphia. I will say the bullpen's in really good shape. Kerkering threw 9 pitches yesterday. Other than that, that's the only key bullpen guys they've used in the last 2 days. So I do like the bullpen situation here for them. Miami, we've got. Let me see. Miami's going with where do they do it?
I think it's Jansen Junk.
Jansen Junk. You're right. Jansen Junk going against Nola. Nola's not pitched well. He looked really good in the preseason, looked good in the tournament, but after his first couple starts, has been downhill. Current line is Philadelphia about 110, 115, something in that range. Total 8.5. I actually prefer Junk to Nola here. The problem with Miami is from a bullpen standpoint, they used their top 3 guys. Tyler Phillips, they've been using as their closer. He threw 47 pitches yesterday. Foucher and King also were in the game. None of those guys pitched the 3 games prior, but I can't see Phillips making it out there after throwing 47 pitches yesterday. Jansen Junk, the last 14 weeks, he's rated as the number 10 pitcher in baseball. So he's been pitching very well, 73rd on the season. So the edge in pitching is clearly with Miami here. And, although the top 2 guys in the order for Miami, Marcy and Stowers, have struggled mightily, the next 3 guys in the lineup, Otto Lopez, he's turning himself into one of the most consistent players in baseball. He's 40th. Xavier Edwards is not going to give you home runs. They're going to clearly batting 4th. Your home run hitter spot in Major League Baseball is Xavier Edwards, who hits like 1, 2, 3 home runs a season, maybe. And then Liam Hendricks, the catcher, who's come out of nowhere this year and hit well. But I like the Miami pitching in this game. I prefer the Philadelphia hitting a little bit better. So, which tells me that this game is pretty much what I would think it should be played. I actually think Miami should probably be about a 110 favorite, but you're only getting the best I've seen is like plus 100 that way. So it's not enough for me to get a bet on Miami, but that's the way I would look here. I've been a little bit disappointed with the way Philadelphia has played, although they've been winning lately.
very interesting roster development here for Miami. They have sent Agustin Ramirez back to AAA, and they're going to call up Joe Mack. And that actually improves them in the short term because Joe Mack is a tremendous defensive catcher. And that's something when you have Ramirez or Hicks behind the plate, like they're nothing compared to what Joe Mack is as a defensive catcher. I mean, he's one of the best catching prospects in the big leagues. They expect his bat to catch up. But when you look at the Marlins right now, the Ramirez hasn't really hit either. So it's like what I think they're probably doing. I think the Agustin Ramirez catching experience is done. He's going to go back to AAA. He's going to get some confidence hitting against AAA pitching. But more importantly, he's going to learn a different position because he's not going to be behind the plate anymore. You have not if you're going to have Hicks as an option. And then Joe Mack is like an everyday elite catching option. The only question mark for him so far, he's been a little bit inconsistent hitting at AAA. But like right now, all of your Marlins are inconsistent. Like no Marlins, like Hicks has had a great season hitting wise. You don't know if that can keep up. But like Ramirez hasn't had a great offensive season. So it's like you bring Mack up, you improve defensively. Hey, if he doesn't hit right away, whatever, you improved your team by doing that. So I think I'm going to use the Marlins as my parlay leg because I think they got better and I don't think it's really factored into the line. There's been numerous times this year where Augusto Ramirez has cost his team runs behind the plate, throwing the ball in the left field, throwing the ball in the center field, not being able to control the run game. Guess who's going to do that? Joe Mack. You're not running on Joe Mack. Joe Mack's not going to launch he's not going to throw a 2-run double down the left field line. So the Marlins just got better. Junk threw to him enough last year at Jacksonville where I think they probably already have a rapport. I'm going to use the Marlins in the parlay here, Bryan Leonard. What kind of line can I get on that?
Yeah, like I said, you could get right now with the Marlins anywhere from plus 100 to minus 105. So maybe minus 102.
We'll call it minus 105. We'll call it minus 105.
And I will add to that where, the catcher situation in Miami, a lot of teams are just loading up. As soon as they get that single, they're running on both catchers. And they won't be able to do that here. And Philadelphia is one of those teams, as I just complained about with the catcher or with the center fielder, that they're not running enough. And so they probably won't be able to run it all on Mack. And Mack can give you a home run every once in a while. He's got some decent power out there. So I don't find any fault in that myself.
All right, I got you, B. Young. You're not the only one asking about this game. He said, Trig, we need your thoughts on this Petty guy going for the Reds. He, of course, means Chase Petty, former first-round pick back in the 2021 draft. I don't think he was drafted by the Reds, though. I feel like he was maybe drafted by Minnesota, came over. I don't know how the Reds got him off the top of my head. Maybe Tyler Mahle. I don't remember. But the point is, he was a first-round draft pick at one point. He was a guy that I thought. So remember, this is not I don't think this is his first call up. He's been he's been in the minors as a good option for a while. Last year, now I'm going off of memory. It was either like middle 2024 or early last year where he was getting the most sort of like run as like, okay, let's call this guy up. You know, he starts the year in AAA, or I'm sorry. He starts the year. I gotta get my I got my signals crossed here. He's been in AAA all year this year. Last year, he started the year in AAA. They were excited about him when he got called up. He got smoked. He got absolutely clobbered when he got called up. And then but the thing is, he never really got a chance to like work at the big league level. So he is one of these guys that got called up for a spot start, crushed, sent back down. Called up for a spot start, crushed, sent back down. That's tough on some guys. Like we saw Jack Leiter. He may have not recovered from that still. The Rangers did that to him when they were first calling him up. And I don't know that he's ever fully recovered from that. Petty this year, I don't know that he's been as dominant at the minor league level. So you want my thoughts? I'm not going to back him here. Like there are better guys coming up from AAA that are in better scenarios. Now, Could Chase Petty go out and throw a good game? Yeah, I suppose, but he won't have my money. And Bryan, the Reds finally lost a close game over the weekend. They were like 12-0 and close in like 1-run or 2-run games. They finally lost a close one. Is this where the Reds finally tank a little bit? Are they going to hit a skid finally?
The lines maker seems to think so, as they've got the Cubs in the $2 range, 210 range in this one. That's the first thing I looked at. I thought there's not that big of a difference between these two teams. I'm not a Reds fan. Actually, I am kind of a Reds fan because I'm from Ohio, but I haven't liked the way they played this year, and they've been the luckiest team in baseball. That said, I do like Chase Petty a little bit. He's got the ability. Let's just say he's got the ability. He hasn't shown it in the pros yet. He hasn't got much of a chance. Cabrera's been really hot lately. The wind's going to be blowing out here, so I'm not going to use Petty. But to me, the line is a little bit too high, but I understand why. The Cubs are hitting really well. First, I wanted to play. I really did want to come in here on Cincinnati, but with the situation, with the total of 11.5, wind blowing out, Cubs hitting really well, I'm not going to get there. So that's the way I think the line's too high, but I can't find a real reason to play Cincinnati here.
Yeah, that's where I was at too. The line is absolutely too high. Cabrera, when he can avoid, the free passes, can be very, very good. But even so, like, the Cubs they still have to put together inning like 6 to 7 through 9. I know they're going to get like Palencia back and stuff like that, but it's still not a bullpen that I'm fully trusting of at this point. Without a doubt, the offense is awesome for the Cubs, no question about that. But it was 2024 when Petty came from AA to AAA that he had a really good season at AAA. Last year, in addition to the 3 blowups at the big league level, his ERA was 6.39 in Louisville. This year so far, a 4.38 ERA in Louisville. His numbers are good, over a strikeout per inning. Like he definitely still has upside, but he hasn't done it consistently enough over the last 2 years where I'm just like, hey, it's a great idea to bet this guy against a Cubs lineup that 1 through 9 is very, very good. So I'm kind of out on that game. But that is my thoughts. All right, Bryan, Leonard, do you know where you want to go for the parlay is the question.
I am. I'm going to take a look at the Cleveland-Kansas City game. Tanner Bybee on the mound against Michael Wacha. I'm more of a Wacha fan than I am Bybee fan. But if you've seen Tanner Bybee and you break his starts down from divisional opponents in his career and non-divisional opponents, he has dominated the divisional opponents, which is one of the reasons Cleveland's had a lot of success to win this division so much in the last decade or so. Bybee's pitched a little bit better. He's still not 100% as good as he's been in the past, but he is pitching better. I believe he's 7-2 career against Kansas City. And I always like him when he plays teams that he knows very well. And obviously they know him just as well. But Cleveland just played in Sacramento, a really good hitting environment. It's not quite as good as it is in Colorado, but the pitching shouldn't change when it goes on the road. This is actually used to be a very good pitcher's park. They've moved the fences in a little bit, and the wind is blowing out a little bit here in Kansas City today. Even though I like Wacha better than Bybee, I do like the way he's pitched as of late. And when you take a look at the Cleveland bullpen, they're in really good shape here. The only guy that's Smith hasn't pitched the last 2 days. Sobrowski, who I really like, hasn't pitched the last 2 days. They've got Festa is the 7th inning guy. I'm not a huge Festa fan. Hunter Gaddis is coming back from injuries. He's been slow in that regard, but Tim Herron's been very good. Connor Brogdon's been good. They brought back Colin Holderman, who will not pitch today. He has pitched the last 2 days, but I like the signing. I thought he was a real good holds guys for Pittsburgh, and his last name was Holderman. I said that's the opposite of a Bob Walk when you look at pitchers. But he won't be pitching today. But I like that he's back up from the minors. So I like the situation for the Cleveland bullpen. If you take a look at the hitters right now, Chase DeLauter, and I've talked about him. If you watch him, he's got the strangest swing in baseball, but anything above the waist, he's just cranking. He's fifth in baseball the last 2 weeks, 24th best hitter in baseball overall this season. He's been very good. You are getting Jose Ramirez in a little bit of a slump here. I think he's going to break out of that. So I like the Cleveland situation. And when you look at Kansas City, they're coming off, as you mentioned, that sweep in Seattle. Now they're going in to play Cleveland here. They got to be feeling pretty good about themselves right now. But even in that sweep, Urseg, excuse me, a closer was used 2 of the last 3 days. Matt Strahm, probably the best arm in the bullpen, has been used 2 of the last 3 days. So Daniel Lynch has been used 2 of the last 3 days. So the bullpen situation in Cleveland is much better. And from a starting standpoint, Michael Wacha, as much as I like him, he's not pitching well the last 2 weeks. He's got a 152nd in pitching, where on the season he's 45th. So he's slumping a little bit. And we're getting Cleveland in this game as a slight underdog. I will take Cleveland. We're getting them anywhere from plus 105 to plus 109. Let's go with 105. I'll take Cleveland plus 105 here, and that'll be my best bet on the show today.
Can't argue with that. I've been sort of anti-Royals the whole year. I know they kind of made me look stupid over the weekend, but they're still 15-19. Still just not. This is still just not a good baseball team. I really. We don't have enough time left on the show for me to go through all the ways I think this is a poor team. But it's like when one of your main options is Salvador Perez, who just like he played in the World Baseball Classic. He's 100 years old at this point. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, yeah, like I like Bobby Witt Jr. a lot. I think everyone does, but you look at these starters. I've always praised Michael Wacha because of his longevity. But if you're just like looking at what Michael Wacha in a vacuum, just like what is he going to do today? Like you said, he hasn't been great the last few times out. I certainly think he's hittable. Like he's not going to come in and just wipe the Guardians out here. Yeah, I'm still anti-Royals. I thought this was one of the most overrated teams based on like where the market had them coming into this season. And now that they've just swept the Mariners, they're back to being overrated, in my opinion. Like that's a quick way to be, you're 12-19. You are finally starting to get priced like you're probably supposed to be. And you went to Seattle and swept the Mariners. You're overrated again, in my opinion. Still not a good baseball team. Bryan, I think your Guardians might have they should have a good series in this series, and it should start tonight with a win. So I'm with you on that one.
I like the Royals better than you do, but I will say that in this game, we'll find out a lot about the Royals this week because they play Cleveland for a 4-game series, and then they play Detroit. Those are the two teams they need to beat. They need to dominate these two series before people start believing in Kansas City again.
And then after that, they have another AL Central series against the White Sox in Chicago. Don't sleep on the Sox. They have looked really good.
Sneaky good. Yeah.
Yeah. I still don't think, listen, I still don't think it's crazy to think that they're not going to be, the Twins are probably the worst team in this division now, officially, after Joe Ryan got hurt over the weekend. But like,
let somebody bet the Twins to win the division. What?
Yeah, that was, I think I talked about that. And it's like, they've just had a couple of guys fall apart, a couple of injuries, but they have reinforcements at St. Paul. So maybe don't count the Twins out just yet. Point I was trying to make is I still think the Royals could be the worst team in this division. I really do. And so I can't oppose your Guardians look for tonight. That brings us to the end of the show. 2-teamer today for us. I'm going to go with the Marlins minus 105. Bryan's going to go with the Guardians plus 105. So actually should be better than your typical 2-teamer. We got an underdog and then a reduced juice favorite in there. Marlins, Guardians, that's our 2-teamer for today. That is our show. The two of us will be back tomorrow. Real quick before we head out, we've got great specials on the WagerTalk site. We talked about them a lot on Saturday. I didn't talk about them as much on this show. So real quick, we have a $100 off a 30-day all access. We've got our annual all access, which gets you, it basically gets the month below $100 a month, which is probably as good as you're going to find at any point in the year. And then we've got a 3-day special. We also have the double play special. The two of us double play 3 days of all the baseball plays that we have. Bryan's still pumping out winners in the NHL playoffs. Do you have anything big in the NHL tonight, Bryan?
I'm still working on the card. I got nothing up right now, but we are 13-5 combined in the NBA playoffs and the NHL playoffs. So, yeah, I talked about how easy it is to win in the playoffs, and I thank everybody who did join us because we still got a lot of playoffs to go.
Yeah, so I know this is a baseball show, but if you're into playoff, hoop, or hockey, Bryan Leonard is your guy. Go check him out. The two of us will be back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern for more Total Basis. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you guys then.